redeem that which is taken. So for them to pay, they must go. It took Joseph to take them down there. Look at how beautiful things are. Let me give you one mystery here. If you check the journey of the Israelites with God, the moment the Israelites want to move away from God, God will make it that it will be the children of Rachel that will lead the team. Rachel, because he was the one Jacob loved, and Leah was the one God gave. And when God wants to redeem them or bring them back, he will go and choose of the sons of Leah. Take an example. Joseph led them into Egypt. Levi, Moses, brought them out of Egypt. The man, they said, we need a king. We want a king. We want to be like every nation. God said, okay, no problem. Samuel, I'll bring a man, a Benjaminite, son of Rachel. Don't forget, God said something. They have not rejected you. They have rejected me. Go ahead and give them a king. And when God will bring his own king, he brought David from Judah, the son of Leah. That became the way for God to say, okay, no problem. When you want to live naturally, I know how to lead you. When you want to live spiritually, I know the way to take you through. The same God who said you shall not be called Jacob again, but Israel. In Isaiah, all through his days, we'll call him Jacob and Israel. The two together. God is saying you are intertwined in the body, in the natural senses, and in the spiritual. You see it? Say, Jacob, Israel, you are two. When you want to do your will in the name of God, yes, you are there. And when you want to do God's will, yes, you are there. You see it? Now, I said perfecting yourself in your marriage. Do I say perfecting your marriage? You must know the word that constituted your marriage, your coming together. What word brought you? You know, for Rebecca, it was the angel of the Lord that Abraham sent. It was the angel of God that Abraham sent ahead of his servants. Say, God will send this angel ahead of you, and he will bring a wife for my son, Isaac. And there was a spiritual intervention in the journey. So Rachel knew, Rebecca knew that everything that is sustained in a marriage is spiritually designed. There is that spiritual might over our marriage. Because she couldn't even get how the story went. But you know, the servant, Elias and the servant of Abraham, told the story of how Abraham sent him to that land to pick a wife. Hence, when there was trouble with Rebecca, she went and inquired. There is a spiritual intervention in this journey. Can you give me? And she got the thing. She became led. She followed through the path perfecting ourselves in a marriage. She followed the way. How did you get in here? If you know the way, it was God that gave me my wife. You will follow the word of that God. What did he tell you? Or how did he tell you? I once thought that every testimony is sustained in power. Every testimony is sustained in power. No matter how very spirit-filled the testimony is, it can change. It will begin as a testimony, and then it changes in the midway. Why? Because the people in the testimony are not in power. Imagine, the Bible says, to them that believe, he gave the power to become the sons of God. Even to them that believe on his name. You see it? There is the power. So if God says, this is your marriage, the first leg is acknowledging that God in your husband and your wife, and holding on to his word, the word of his grace. That's the way Paul called it. The word of his grace. He said, I commend you to God and to the word of his grace. Acts chapter 20, verse 32. The word of his grace, the word of his ability.
20.
32.
And now, brethren, I commend you to God.
I commend you to God.
And to the word of his grace.
To the word of his ability.
Which is able to build you up.
That will build you.
And to give you an inheritance.
And give you the expected end.
Among all them which are sanctified.
Among the sanctified. It will build you to become what you are called to be. A lot of us were called to be wives. We change to be servants. We change to be husbands. We change to be girlfriends. We change to be I don't know. Give it a name, whichever name. You change to be an onlooker. You change to be a chick. You change to be a date. I mean, should be a date. Because what you are looking for, that's not what I'm looking for. This is why I'm looking for in a man that can give me a date, a man that can take me to a restaurant, a man that can take me out on dinner party, on all this. You see, what did God tell you? That is purpose for the marriage. If you get that one right, now the next stage of perfecting yourself in the marriage is the woman perfecting herself in the instruction of her husband. You see, this is where the peculiarity is, which marks the beauty. Every husband has his own purpose and his own schedule on earth. God gave, dress it and keep it. Each person has what God wanted him for. The wife is supposed to be the help meet for the purpose. If you now turn from being the help, to become the master, you have spoiled the show. The helpmate is what you are called. Sorry, just admit what me like this, so because I'm driving through a rough road. The helpmate is what God called you. So you must be able to deal as such, as a helpmate. And then understanding fully the instruction of your husband. That's why he say, submit to your own husband. That's what Apostle Paul said. Ephesians chapter 5. Look at the way he said it. Wives, verse 22. Wives.
Submit yourselves unto your own husband.
Your own. That is, at this time, he's making it personal pronoun. Your own husband.
As unto the Lord.
As unto the Lord. Not unto husbands. To your own husband. How do you submit? You must know what he gave you. Every husband must have a word. You must have instructions that makes you up. You must be able to tell your wives what makes you up. The wife must know what the husband likes and what he does not like. Not like he loves blue shirts, he loves red shoe. Not those ones. All those ones are part of the I'm not perfect thing. What does he like in his words? What were the teaching he gave you? What were his legacies? What is his ideology? What does he stand for? How does he relate with things? You must understand. You are not there to condemn. No, I don't like the way you do your things. I don't like the way you. How can you reason like that? How can you? No. First, understand that thing, because that is your place. Hold on to the word God gave you. Listen and check for the brightness of the place. Because in you listening, holding on to the word that God gave you, he would tell you, he would give you the understanding. Oh, now, you know what David taught Solomon? He said, wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom. And in all your gettings, in every fact and figures that you have, in every data you collated, he said, get understanding. As soon as you understand the way his ideals, his methods, his thinking, his ideology, his principles, his way of relations, relating to things, you become the true person God made you or God called you. You must understand one thing, that you cannot perfect whatever God gave you or yourself. You cannot perfect yourself in what God gave you until you become what God called you. No man can be perfected in anything that is of God until you first become what he called you. He said you are an helpmate. Until you come to that level of understanding where you stand to represent him, you cannot be perfected in that journey. Because you complain, you will see. And the beautiful thing is, if he is true, if the man is true as a man, he cannot be given to change. I use if because a lot of us are now, how do I call it? We are now, I don't know the English I want to use. A lot of men are let me use, we are now babyish. I mean, we are now contaminated or polluted, or we are now, what is this English? For something to be contaminated, polluted, corrupted. We are now corrupted. How do I mean corruption? The seed of Dele is now in me. I've now used, I'm now using Uncle John's method to see myself or make myself up. You see, the beauty of God resides in the difference. This is Uncle John, this is Baba, this is Dele, this is Folabi, this is Bode, this is Ebenezer, this is Joshua, this is... The beauty of God resides in the difference. God wants Uncle John to say, this is Uncle John, Auntie, take Uncle John. And Auntie will take in Uncle John. It does not mean you cannot say, I don't understand this thing. Why is this thing like this? You must be able to ready to give an answer. And it must be true. And why I said true, why I'm using the word it must be true is this. Until you become matured in the things that is given to you, you can't be true. Until you are matured, you cannot be true. Maturity will mean you are abiding, you are standing, you are confident of what you do, of what you know. You are not guessing. Some people are there that doesn't even know their nature. They agree with everything that everybody says. They don't have a mind to say, no, this is not as by me. I'm not rubbing it on anybody, but the way I see this thing is this. There is no originality in them. Such a one are boys, not men. So when we talk marriage, we talk about men. When we talk marriage, and lest I forget again, not that they cannot be convinced. So when you hear they are mature, they are standing, they are this, it's not that sometimes we have errors in information. I was coming from the king of Imeko now. He had the history of Imeko, as in the true history from the colonial masters days. There is a professor in Imeko that was a professor in Unilag. For years, he became Professor Emeritus, I guess. Asiwaju. I guess he's a professor in history.
Yes,
African history. He wrote books. But guess what? The information in the book, compared to the true history of Imeko, are heresies. So when the king read through the book and saw the heresies compared to what is in the archive of the colonial masters, written all in cursives, the professor called the king, and the king called the professor My father, because he's older, the king is just 40, was just 40, like 2 years ago, last year or 2 years ago. So he called the person and said, you have written this book this way, but this history are not true. I said, no, that is the history that we were taught to. The king now brought the archive, but the notes from the archives. And the president now said, how come we never had this information? You know what the young king said? He said, you research into the history of African as a student. I am researching into it as a king. You know, the information, the way they give the information will differ. They will bring it from the archives to the king. But the students, because they cannot go through the archives, it's so cumbersome. They will just take things from textbooks. You see it? And whatever somebody told them, and that somebody must have read or had information from, which may not be true. Where am I coming from? I said the man must be matured, having his own stance. But he could be convinced. So he must not be heady. He may see something, some way, or somehow. Well, it can convince him. But one thing in life is your ideology cannot be changed. Neither can your principle change. If anybody is coming from a traditional setting or a setting that is born a worshiper, I tell you, when they get to Christianity, the way of their worship, they become so hardened in Christianity. They preach Christ as if, no, that is all. But you know, us that were born into the thing, we preach it casually. Christ is not by force. They will say, no way, except Christ. No. This is because they have gone through a setting that has tailored their principle. So I said, one, you must know your God and have the word of his grace, the word of his ability that brought you into that atmosphere of marriage, that arena of marriage. You must not play. It is by that word that you will get to everything that will look so impossible in the journey. Everything. It is by that word that the things that pertains to you will be given to you in that way. Because he said, it will give you and it will build you up so that you be that thing, and then it will give you an inheritance amongst those who are sanctified. That will mean it will give you that which belongs to you in that journey. You will not just be there.
Hallelujah, Baba.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry to disturb you. Just to confirm a statement you made. Did you say that men cannot be convinced?
I said he can be convinced. He must be mature to be convinced.
Oh, so
when you have a better light.
Okay. So men
when there's a better vision. Okay, I know that this is like I use the king and the Asiwaju, the professor.
Mm-hmm.
The professor has taught the history of Imeko severally. But what he has taught his students all years was not according to what is in the colonial archive.
Mm-hmm.
You get it?
Yeah.
As soon as he saw the archives and the way they wrote it, and the way they wrote the names He was, oh, wow. He began to call the king, my monarch. You see it?
Mm-hmm.
And the king will begin to say, the king's father, how are you, sir? Because he was a professor before the king was born. Did you get that? Before he was born at all, he was a professor.
Okay.
So he saw what he used his whole life to teach was not part of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But who will correct that? He is corrected now. But all his students will continue with what he has. So he's trying to write another book now. You see it?
So he in that respect,
yes,
by coming to true knowledge
good,
and accepting it, he is walking in the ways of a man.
Good.
Okay. Thank you, Papa.
So that every man, when the Bible says, he that would not offend in words is a perfect man. If you will not stumble by what you were told, what you were given, the instructions, you can't stumble when you understand the instruction. You will not forget the instructions when you understand them and you apply them. The instruction you forget are the instruction you never applied. So the wife, when the husband is true and matured, the wife is not coming to say, no, this is not the way. You are coming to embrace your own beauty in the man, your own difference. I once made a counseling and I told the to-be couple, I told them, I said, when you have been born in your father's house, auntie, and the only appellation that was given to your name is the miss. I said, if you interpret that casually, to be a miss will mean so many things. Miss in all ways. Whatever you have in your father's house are not true to you. You are not defined by what comes from your father's house. Your definition, your true definition is in your husband's house. That's how I covered them all. In Psalm 40, is that Psalm 40? In Psalm 45. Psalm 45. Read for me from verse 9. Let me hear.
King's daughters were among...
Yes.
King's daughters were among thou honorable women. Upon thou right did stand the queen.
Upon your right hand stands. Yes.
Did stand the queen in
the gold of Ophir.
Hearken, O daughter, and consider and incline thine ear. Forget also thine own
daughter. Listen, hearken, O daughter, and incline. And do what?
Forget also thine own people and thy father's house.
Yes.
So shall the king greatly desire thy beauty, for he is thou Lord, and worship thou him. And the daughter.
Did you see it? Forget your people. Forget your father's house. What you took from your father's house is to make your father say, I have given birth and trained. Your father knows his name will be out of you. You will bear your husband's name. Your father will be happy. That's why men are happy when they have a son. Because they know their name continues. When they have a daughter, the name of her husband comes immediately. I said, when they call you Miss, they are telling you, hello, you must listen. Take that verse 10 again. That verse 10.
Hearken, O daughter, and consider and incline thine ear.
Hearken,
And
O
consider
daughter, and consider
and incline
and
thine ear.
incline your ear.
Forget also thine own people and thy
Did you
father's
see?
house.
You will not hearken when you remember your father's house. That's not what my daddy told me. This is not your daddy. This is your true daddy. Your daddy is your real daddy. Your husband is your true daddy. In physics, we talk about apparent and real. Your daddy is your apparent daddy. This is your real daddy. Because he's the one that will give you what becomes of your nature. What becomes of your future. Your daddy taught you to help him. But then your daddy did not tell you his job or his assignment in which you will help him with. And your daddy cannot tell you his assignments or his principles. He alone can give you his ways and his principles. You see it? That's why David said, hearken, consider, and incline your ears. You know, forget your own people and your father's house. Then he will delight in you. You see, to perfect your marriage, or yourself in your marriage, for a woman, that is the true line. That is what you look for. You don't begin to compare. You are not like Baba. You are not like Uncle John.
Hello. Alpha.
You are not like. You don't compare. They are not the same. They don't have the same principle. They cannot have the same. Who's that? Drop that person, Uncle John.
I've removed him.
Okay, thank you. The truth is laid bare. That is the picture God wanted us to go by in perfecting ourselves in that which He gave us. In perfecting ourselves, you know, you learn. The man should be able to learn of God and learn from God. You know, that's what Jesus commanded. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, I'll give you rest. He said, take my yoke